In this demo, we're going to show you how you can use Turbot guardrails to simulate and test changes to AWS SCPs, or service control policies. And so built into Turbot guardrails PSPM, or Preventative Security Posture Management Platform, we have a simulator built in that can help you visualize your AWS org structure as well as the overlay of service control policies and their associations. You then can associate CloudTrail events, whether existing ones in your environment or mock events that you can use to test, to then overlay so that you can test whether or not certain actions or events would be impacted by your current SCPs or changes to SCPs, and you can take it further before you would then deploy. In this case, we can test whether or not we can do an EC2 run instance or creation of EC2 instances across the environment. So here, I'll just pick a mock event that's already pre-built on an EC2, whether or not it's restricted per region. In this case, I'll test whether or not I can deploy EC2 instances to EUS1 and where would that be blocked. And so if I add that event, quickly we'll then assess that across my organization structure, coming in from my org to my root to this workloads OU, I have a few SCPs that it would pass through that particular action. But as it got down to the commercial banking OU, these two particular policies, actually, I have two overlapping policies that would then restrict an EC2 run instance in that particular region. And I can get more involved here to the bottom right, and I can look at those conditions on that particular resource. I could see how these other SCPs that were also evaluated are allowing for it and why it's being allowed. Here I can also then maybe do some other tests. So here I'm looking for EUS1. If I was to run another mock event, I can simply take this and duplicate it, and then I could just quickly change here. If I, instead of just looking in EUS1, I wanted to look in EUS2, add a duplicate, I could see, okay, well, both of these are being denied across these. So, but if I wanted to test whether or not I can alter the SCP to see to allow for EUS1, here I have the security network controls SCP on the commercial banking OU. And if I want to duplicate that, I can easily do so. And then I have my policy statements here that I can also adjust. So in this case, I have regions that are allowed, EUS1, and it's also validating that I have good syntax in my SCP. So here I just added it into my regions list. I'm creating another duplicate environment, duplicate SCP here, and that's showing that particular change would allow for run instances to pass through, but overall, because of these SCPs, it's ultimately being denied still. I can also test whether or not I was to enable or disable these existing SCPs, and if I was to do that, I'd have fully that particular one being denied, but I have this particular copied SCP in the environment showing that that path can then succeed. And if I wanted to then test it against EUS2, I can test that and then see that this statement number 3 is actually still being denied here. But if it's EUS1, that would still pass through. If I wanted to go even further and take this SCP and then change it where it's actually located, so if I want to add it to the root here and then hit save, now that gets redirected. And so if I expand this even further, I can now see that if the SCP was applied at a different part of the organization structure, then what would that look like and how that would pass through. A lot of opportunities to simulate and test different changes to make sure that it's safe before you deploy it within your organizational policies. If you're interested in using the simulator and assessing your SCPs across your Amazon environments, please reach out to us at turbot.com/start.